Batman Superman issue 16. Gene Luen Yang writing with Ivan Reis on the art. This is the start of the new run, of course. Kind of ballsy, not either renumbering this or doing something, because it does feel very fresh and different. It's a very different book. Which Carr didn't even try because he's the worst. But
look, this is just a case of taste where I've learned I don't like Yang's writing, and that's fine. It's not for me.
However,
it's a completely different thing.
He's taking chances with formatting, and I think you might have liked this one.
Yeah, so to explain what the format of this is, so this is all 2-page layouts except the very final page, and maybe the first page that explains it, actually. But it's essentially 2 film strips, right? So all the art is in panels of film strips, and the top panel is a Superman story. The bottom panel, or the bottom row, I should say, is a Batman story, and so it's all 2-page layouts with these going side by side. And at the start of the book tells you can read just the Superman story first, go back and read the Batman one. You can do it the other way around, or you can do what I did, because the thought of having to go back to the start and read the other one again is stupid to me. So I read them simultaneously.
Yeah, as did I. That's been my question to everyone who's read it, and thus far, that's how everyone I know has read it. So it's
which,
good.
To be fair, there is a moment towards the end where they finally kind of converge a little bit. So I think it works if you read it sequentially, because it has this moment of.
So I want to know if
like this idea. I do like this idea what you're describing, and I respect the trying something different.
Right. So
and that's been Yang. Even like in Terrifics, he had that choose your own. So it's like he has fun doing this. But I also want to know if you did read this, the either Superman or Batman first and then go back. I want to know how it read any different after you listen to us go on about it.
Yeah.
So
and I can imagine how it would read, because there's so many versions of this that would just give you the one first in a normal comic format, give you the cliffhanger of the thing that happens and the reaction, and go, wait, why did he call her that, and then go back to the other one. I could totally see how it would work. But anyway, they're both alternate universes. This is not main continuity DC by any means. As we were going, we were learning, and it became quite clear they were separate universes too. They couldn't be the same one, because in one of them, Batman's still Batman, but in the other one, Martha's still alive. Only only Thomas Wayne got shot,
right.
And that Martha's got a love affair with Alfred. Bruce is not Batman. Bruce is just a idiot rich person.
Yeah. He's the public's what they think of Bruce Wayne, right?
Yes.
The bumbling playboy who,
and partly because of this, Lois is flirting with him, so there's not a relationship with Superman at least yet. So you've got all that going. Honestly, my only real problem, because I was actually really, I haven't really said if we enjoyed this shit. I actually did. I thought this was a really enjoyable issue. The only critique that I really had from a plot beat perspective, where I thought it got a bit too silly with the differences, is in the I guess it was in the Superman story where Alfred venoms up like Bane towards the end. That was the one thing where I went, oh, I didn't think I liked that.
I low key kind of loved it.
Oh, of course you did.
I low key kind of loved it.
Because everything else they changed. Everything, Lex tries to pretend to be a supervillain, someone else, but then the unmask is like
the unknown wizard.
The unknown wizard, yes.
I love it.
But then like from there they're investigating, and it's like, oh wait, there's something fishy going on with the Wayne family fortune and how they're behind stuff and behind the tech and whatever, which leads them to go and check out the mansion, which because she's Bruce wanted to ask her on a date anyway, but they go snooping around the mansion, and that's when Alfred venoms up. And then on the Batman side of things, he's with a young Dick Grayson who's Robin. And it turns out, because I never got that the villain was meant to be Lois until the end when he sees her.
She's the Silver Spider, right?
Yeah,
like that's her gimmick.
Yeah, because obviously the point in the book as well, because it's really nicely timed. So the moment where you realize they can't be in the same universe, they both give you a reason at the same time. So it's Martha being alive in one of them, and Bruce is not Batman. But in the other one, Batman and Robin find the ship that brought Superman to Earth, but he's like he died in the ship, so there's like a little skeleton inside.
Well, in Arkham, so they stop a escape from Arkham.
Yes.
With Joker and Penguin, and I don't know who the last guy is. And from this woman that's the Silver Spider, and whatnot, and then so they go to the Warden, to his Museum of Oddities, and that's where they find the Superman ship with a dead alien infant mummy inside, you know. But yeah, no, I love how they bounce back and forth. If you're reading it that way, they almost line up. Like Pete said, where we find out that Martha's still alive, we find out there was no Superman. So Superman lives in a world without Batman, and how that's different. And then Batman lives in a world without Superman, and how that makes it different. My one issue, Pete, is when they go back to Arkham, and there's the A block and B block.
Yeah, this is a weird, because I actually thought this was how it was going to explain something, that there was like duplicates of people. So yeah,
right, okay.
Joker, Penguin, you know, the other guys like, hey, like, we'd just be glad we were in the A block and not with their twins in the B block. And then we see the B block, and it's literally copies of these three people, but they've got like purple boils all over them. And I'm like,
okay.
Well, what's this? Why is it duplicates?
Okay. Yeah, that was a main issue for me too. That one was like, okay, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But I'm
going to assume that I don't know if it's Arkham. I was actually thinking it was Doctor Strange, because at one point they emphasized the word strange in a speech bubble.
Yeah, Hugo Strange.
Yeah. What did I say?
You said Doctor Strange, or technically he is, but
sorry,
that has different connotations in pop culture.
There's too many Stranges and doctors and professors. And
he's still
there's definitely way too many doctors.
Yeah.
In the context of comics villains, not in the world, obviously.
Oh yeah, the world could always use more doctors. Yeah, more doctors are great.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, no. It just the way that Reese draws everything, right? That down on the Batman side of the page, everything's dark the whole time.
Yeah.
And dark colors. Where Superman, everything's light and almost in the sun, and it's bright, like, you know. But it also feels classic at the same time, even though it's meant to be modern, right? So like Lois is dressed in, like, you know, what you would see of her in the Golden Age. But everything seems like the technology, you know.
So one of the things that happens in the Batman story is that they realize through, you know, looking at records and stuff, that Strange has been going to the Arctic for some reason.
Yeah.
And you get the impression, because he's built a fortress in the Arctic, which is like an actual building, but you get the idea that he found the crystals and he's actually doing stuff with the Kryptonian tech that he's found and been trying to study it seemingly or whatever. But when they go there to investigate this, the big thing that happens, whilst they're walking through the halls of this fortress, a portal opens up, and Lois from the Superman story like falls through it into their world, and you know, Batman's like, wait, it's the silver, it's the Spider Lady, right. You know, it's her. And the end of the issue, there's just one page, seemingly in the regular, you know, DC continuity, where our Batman and Superman are looking at a space station, or a satellite, I should say, it's a satellite, and it's covered in reels of film. And as I mentioned at the start, both stories take place in reels of film across the pages. So something is, you know, there is going to be some sort of tangential connection to the real DC continuity with them finding these two realities seemingly colliding.
Yeah, and I love that these aliens that show up that claim this is the archive of worlds, they look like robots with projection heads. Projector heads.
I kind of like
hilarious.
That too. Yeah, even the black and gold outfits feels very kind of like cinematic. You know, it feels like, you know, the Oscar colors. You know, it feels like an Academy Award color, the scheme. I kind of love the idea. These are basically Brainiac, but instead of bottling cities, they record everything on film instead.
Yeah. So Superman says, like, it feels like film, or it looks like old film, but it isn't. It feels ephemeral. Right, so like I've heard that word, but I didn't quite know what ephemeral meant. So I had to look, and that meant it breaks down to lasting for a very short time. So like, is this just like fleeting, like what ifs?
I think so. I would say it's kind of like how the Dark Multiverse worlds always were destined to die. This is like that, but much quicker, I would assume.
Right. So Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Then again, though, I tend to like Yang more than I dislike Yang.
Do you know what's so funny is that both stories, despite the fact that they were so different, there was moments in both that felt like Yang was getting to tell, like, because it was Batman and Dick Grayson, and Superman it was young Clark before Lois knew who he was. So it felt like we were getting like two sort of classic style stories, but then they got weird towards the end as we realized, oh wait, these are in very different worlds that we're used to.
Yeah,
but
they got really weird.
What got to me though is that when I got to that last page and it kind of revealed, oh, this is the context in the real DCU, and part of me thought there's nothing wrong with this page and the stuff that I actually like about it, but I do actually think I didn't need it, because if this was just going to be an arc where we had these two universes and they merged and like interacted with each other, and it was, the idea was, okay, here's a Batman who had no Superman and a Superman who had no Batman, and we got them to mix by the end and see what that story does. I didn't really need them to give it context in the actual DCU. It's fine that it is, there's nothing wrong with it, but it was working well enough for me that when I got to that last page, I'm like, oh, that's cool, but I don't actually think I needed it.
No, yeah. It would have been cool if they dropped it in maybe like at the end of last issue to kind of give it context to like, hey, there's something weird going on here. Because again, you said they didn't renumber it or anything. So, they weren't going from start. But yeah, you can definitely feel that Yang and Reese are having a lot of fun, because I do feel like Reese nails that classic look for both of these heroes. Because outside of him on Justice League, he's never really done Batman or anything in Gotham, if I can remember. Just Green Lantern and Superman at this point. So to see all his Gotham stuff and how good that looks, like Arkham feels, creepy and as it should be.
I almost wonder if this would have been better just as a new miniseries rather than like don't call it Batman and Superman, call it like, I don't know, like maybe do a play on World's Finest. Yeah, World's Finest, but with like a twist or something, and just make it a mini-series or whatever. Because I don't know how long this book's going to still last with Yang on it, because it seems
that tends to be his bag, right? Like they kind of just let him have cleanup, and then it keeps going. So if this wants to keep going, cool. Because I am loving the Art Deco.
I mean, it's got more chance of selling better than some of his previous books, right? Just based off of like, Batman, Superman. Yeah.
It's interesting to me that because I suspect, as much as we were saying, like we didn't necessarily need the reveal at the end how it connects to the real continuity, but at the same time, the fact that he's introduced it and has introduced these aliens, it says to me that at the very least there's going to be a subplot now where we cut back to the real continuity. We're going to see some advancement with these characters, and I imagine it'll at least get a few more pages each issue now, versus just the one that it got here. So we'll see. But I had fun. It was pulpy. Like I say, the only plot development in either of the stories that made me go, okay, you went a bit too far, was the Alfred in the Superman story using Venom. That was the only thing that made me go,
I love it for the fact that it feels like Martha is just accumulating all of the Gotham villains stuff. So of course she'll have Venom, she'll have the Mr. Freeze serum, she'll have like Joker toxin or whatever.
And in the same way that and the other one, the Strange is collecting all the Kryptonian stuff and all the alien tech,
artifacts and whatnot. Yeah. So, this one I also went into with like low expectations, just because it felt like, I don't want to say filler, but like it just felt like, okay, this is a book that it's going to be out, but really it was a cover that drew me in because of all the pulpiness, and it landed all the way, like, and turned out to be a fun read. I didn't know about the differing things, right?
I mean, neither. Like, I was
two stories.
I opened the book up and it said you can read it in either order, and I went, wait, what? So I didn't know about this. But I just read it straight through, which I actually think. Well, part of me questioned if I should just read one, because when I got to like the second proper like set of pages, right? I was like, oh, maybe this would be easier to read, just do the Superman one first, then go back and do the Batman one. But because when they do eventually converge, I actually do think it's worth reading, just doing it simultaneously. Just do the Superman on that page, then the Batman on that page, and then keep going. It became easy. You got into the flow of it after a little bit. But neat. Matt, what are you giving?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I'm inclined to. I'm inclined to go with 8 as well. Yeah, it was solid.